Hey, welcome back to Wicked Smart Golf, aka Wicked Smat. This is your host, Michael Leonard, and this podcast is committed to helping you play better golf without changing your swing. Today, I'm really excited to bring on Ben Kolde, who went from podcast listener to now being on the show on a quest to become a scratch golfer and more. Probably following him on Instagram. He's got some great stuff on there. Ben, thanks so much for being here, man.
Thanks for having me, man. Yeah, super pumped to come on and chat a bit. Found your, obviously we followed each other for a while, but for whatever reason, I started listening to the podcast more regularly recently and have found it super helpful, sort of like as a primer for my rounds and just approaching competitive rounds. So yeah, it's been really great. Pumped to be here.
Awesome, man. That's actually a good starting point. Is because you kind of told me before we hit record, you were at a place where you were like looking at your swing too much, trying to get in all these positions, and I think a lot of players can kind of resonate with that, right? We're always trying to find that perfect swing, and I'm all for recording your swing and getting to know your game a little bit, but yeah, definitely can go down some rabbit holes on YouTube University at times and get a little overworked. So where were you kind of at maybe 6 months ago? I know you've been a really good golfer for a while, and you want to keep getting better, get into those tournaments. But kind of what's this progression been like, maybe the last year or so?
Yeah, so I would say so a year and a half ago, I was, I think, hovering around like a five to a six. Not playing like that's still like relatively like a pretty solid golfer, but for someone who wanted to start playing competitively and even competing again, um, was not where I wanted to be. So I went and started working with a coach here in the San Francisco area. He was really great. We did a lot of work on just kind of learning like what I needed the big things that I needed to do to like improve my
Hmm.
swing and sort of like what I should come back to. Um, and I think that I worked with him for a year or a little bit over a year or something like that. And I think I got so caught up on how my swing looked. And it was no fault of his. It was more of just like I'm posting my swing online. I'm kind of looking at it. You get the comments like, "Oh, no way, you're like a two handicap with that swing
Oh,
or whatever." And
I
so
understand
like
that very well.
um, like definitely got caught up in that. And like there'd be times when I'd have a bad round and I'd look at my swing like, oh, if my swing was like a little bit flatter, a little bit more laid off, like
Hmm.
it'd be easier to get to scratch. And I think sort of like reflecting and assessing, like I had the best stretch of golf probably like of my life consistency wise, like last summer. It was like three months. I think my scoring average was probably like a 74, which for someone who was like a five, like a couple months prior to that was like felt really, really strong. And I was like, like during that time, I wasn't focused on how my swing looked. I was focused, I was doing this like this specific drill like week over week and focused on short game and just
Hmm.
mainly just like contact and managing my grip, just the standard fundamentals. And so that sort of led me to the point where if I had this goal of playing competitive golf and sort of like sharing that journey online as someone who works full time, if I was going to get, if I was going to do that, I couldn't be worried about my swing all the time. And so I started looking for a coach who sort of like shared this philosophy or sort of like saw my swing and was like I knew my swing was solid. I played high school golf, played competitively, and I was a pretty good high school golfer. I started late, so I didn't do anything in college. But I was like a pretty solid, like 75 and below high school
That's solid.
golfer. And so I knew like I had the game. It was just about what was the practice schedule and what did I need to work on? What were the skills that I needed to develop to get back there? And so that's when I started working with a guy by the name of Ryan Wensler. I'm originally from Ohio. He's located near my hometown, but we work together online. And the main driver behind going and like beginning to work with him was primarily on a performance and skill base. He played professionally for a few years, and our focus is mainly on what are my swing tendencies, and like how do we
Mhm.
manage those, like week over week. What do we come back to when things get off? But like realistically, what are the things I'm working on the range? What do I practice? And then what is the like approach that I'm taking to a round or a tournament? And so. We started working together probably October or November of 2024. um, I would say it took a couple months for the like there was a little bit of swing work we did at the beginning, just sort of like reset and establish like here is where we're trying to go, but we're not gonna
Hmm.
like freak out about it, right? We're gonna work on it, but we're not gonna like stress about it or like when you go to the golf course, you're gonna go to play golf and you're not gonna worry about these positions. Um, and so I would say around February, things started to like sort of take hold and I went on a pretty good run of golf, and those are the scores that sort of fell off my handicap that have kind of caused it to jump back up. But I had a couple rounds in a row, like in the low 70s, and then I played in a tournament at Harding Park. Shot 74, made a birdie on the last and won it, which was like my
Nice.
first win since I don't know, in like 10 years. So really cool to like I haven't really played that much competitive golf since like up to that point, maybe
Mhm.
like 5 tournaments over 3 or 4 years. And to be able to just kind of like it was just a really steady round of golf, and I don't think I necessarily like hit it amazingly, but I just never really um my short game was good. I putted well, and I just kind of kept the ball in front of me.
Mhm.
And I didn't really think about my score. I just focused on each shot like as it went. So just to sort of like just cool to see that process sort of like come together and pay off. And then there's been some good golf since then. I would say I've had a lot of chances, but just like life has kind of like I would say I haven't practiced as much this year as maybe last
Mhm.
year, and that's probably the reason why like I had a lot of like under par nines last year and haven't quite had as many this year, but
Mhm.
sort of like I have a lot of events coming up this summer, so looking to sort of like lock in and start that practice and see where we can go.
Love it. That's awesome, man. Well, yeah, appreciate you giving the background there. I think a lot of people can relate to that and, having the full time, but really loving golf and wanting to get into, tournaments and stuff. So let's kind of set the baseline. So what's your handicap now and what's like the goal maybe this year and then long term?
Yeah. Handicap is currently sitting at a 2. It was as low as a 4, like literally a month ago. So, or sorry, a 1.4. So, but it's like trended up a bit to a 2.
Okay.
Scoring average is like 77. My goal, I don't know if I really have a handicap goal. My goal for the last 2 years has been to break 70. I've never shot in the 60s, and that's kind of just been this like thing in my back that I want to do. Like I haven't shot an under par 18 in quite a 10 years, something like that. Like
Okay.
it's a bit of a um, monkey on my back that I want to tackle. But I think the main goal, I don't know. I think you know what. Let me pull up the goals because I would say it's been a while since I've looked at them. And like I mentioned before we got on, I haven't really been like stat or goal focused this year. I've kind of just been primarily trying to play as good a golf as I can and just take it pretty presently. Like but part of the reason why I maybe haven't practiced as much is maybe because of that lack of a goal.
Yeah, I think it's just it's a guiding light. It's because sometimes we're busy, we don't want to work out, we don't want to practice, we don't want to do this, and it's like, hey, I got that goal kind of staring at me. So yeah, that's something I talk about in my second book a lot. It's just getting really clear on the process and the outcome goals, just so you just kind of know where we're going. There's no right or wrong goals, and you're not going to achieve most of them at the timeline, so you got to reset. And I think that's a good thing. So that way we're not setting them too achievable. But sometimes just having those goals kind of keeps you motivated on the days you're not feeling 100%.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I've got my goals up. I set these at the beginning of the year.
All right, love it.
Sub one handicap, which I feel is like very doable with where I'm at. Break 70, scoring average of 76, and 10 competitive stroke play rounds.
Perfect.
The goal this year was um, I sort of set out to play in as many and start to dip my feet into the like bigger events, which I haven't done before. For me, like I know it's all reps, and just getting those tournament reps makes the difference. Like I know I can
Hmm.
shoot good scores, but if you play one tournament round a year, like it's really hard to just hone that muscle. And so this year was
100%.
just trying to play as many events as I can.
And what kind
Um,
of events too? I think this is great because in my new book that's just coming out probably right around when this launches is all about finding the right events for where you're at. So there's like I call them kind of tier one, tier two, tier three. So tier one would be men's clubs, it'd be maybe a skins game, maybe a city championship. Tier two would be more like state events. Tier three would be like the Monday qualifiers, the mini tour stuff that allows amateurs, the USGA events, kind of the big ones. So what's your kind of tournament schedule like or look like in Northern
yeah,
California?
I would say it's a healthy mix this year. So the majority of them are going to be the tier one.
Hmm.
So we've got a really great men's club at the course I play out of. We do three big stroke play events of the year and then a club championship at the end of the year. And winning score, I think the first one of the year, like 4 or 6 under one. So like really,
Nice.
really high level, really like good player. Then it's a pretty good test of golf, so course wise. So
Hmm.
it's a really good place to like have an event and just sort of get the reps. And then similar to those, some like US Am Tour and some like there's a group called the NorCal Golf Guys. I think they've got some things and some groups in other places as well, just to sort of like get those reps. Because I work full time, right? So those are always on
Hmm.
weekends, so they're easy to make work.
Totally.
And then next week I've got my first I guess you would call it like it's a bit weird because it's Northern California Golf Association. So it's
Hmm.
like it's technically like state, but it's regional because it's like Northern
Yeah,
California,
yeah.
whatever.
California's a
So
big
I've
place.
got yeah, yeah, yeah. So I've got two of those this year. I've got my first one next week, which is the NCGA Amateur.
Perfect.
I've got a qualifier, so it's a 1 day 18 hole qualifier. Sort of added it like last minute because I had the day off work. So I'm like, let's just go do it and get the rep.
No brainer.
And then I've got another one, similar NCGA, like stroke play. The if you qualify, you play spy class, so like that's pretty cool.
Nice.
And that's in August. I think I
Okay.
actually need to check. And then I added the USGA Mid-Am in August as well.
Love it.
That wasn't on the plan, but I figured why not? Let's go play a big event and see how it goes.
100%.
Um, Similar with the SF City, I know like because it's like a city championship, it feels kind of like how big is it? But it pulls from all the colleges in the area as well. So like
Hmm.
Cal, Stanford,
That's
and
true.
some of the
Yeah,
like
love it.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's
there's
some
some good
like big
players.
there's some good players in it. So that was like a bigger event and definitely like felt like that. So it's a good mix. And that was kind of like my goal is like this year is playing as many as I can
Hmm.
at as good of courses as I can get at. And then next year hopefully I'll feel more comfortable. I'll have another year of work under my belt, sort of like in this system of not stressing about my swing, but really trying to like build a game around competitive golf and performing under pressure. Um, I play in a lot of match play stuff when I can. I'm in a few groups that do that, which are more for fun, but like
It
you get in
helps
some
though.
pressure situations that
Hmm.
sort of like helps you play under the gun. So yeah, other than that, a lot of my goals are content focused. So it's a bit of a I
That's
would
hard
consider
sometimes too, because like last
yeah.
year I was like, I'm at the golf course all the time, but I wasn't practicing. I was like just doing content stuff, you know? So it's like I had to really kind of block out, all right, this is time where I'm not going to film anything, or if I do film, it's not for social media, it's for me. So I do
Yeah.
understand kind of that push and pull. But I love the goals, dude. I think this is really cool. I think having you nailed it with the reps. It's really like if you want to get good in tournaments, it's about repetition. If you do one tournament a year, feels like the weight of the world's on it, and then if you do anything once a year, you're probably not going to be very good at it, or compared to if you're doing it 5 times a year, right? I always
Mhm.
joke like compared to the Netflix special, right? You don't get the Netflix special as a comedian just and you like, oh, I just get to do it. You test it out on the smaller stages and comedy clubs, and you figure out what works, and then you kind of take it to the big show. Same thing here. So it sounds like you're doing all the right stuff. You have goals. You have obviously time to practice, which is great. What do you think is like kind of holding you back in some of these tournaments that is maybe you're feeling like, this is, maybe this part of my game. Is it mental game? I know you've been obviously listening to the podcast, working on the mental stuff, but I think let's kind of dive into like what is happening in those tournaments. I know you said, for example, San Francisco City wasn't your finest. The bad rounds, though, are where you can learn the most, and there's a lot of good stuff in there. So, have you done any kind of recap on that, or what do you think are maybe a couple things we can work through and hopefully get you some confidence heading into those next few events?
Yeah. It's been the same stuff every tournament I've played in. It's
Mm,
driver and putting. So that is, it feels cliche, but it's like I'm in my like casual rounds, I'm gaining a stroke to a stroke and a half with my driver.
hmm.
Under in tournaments, it is not that way. I feel like I hit it a little bit everywhere, and I'm guessing it's probably just down to like nerves, tempo, just not being committed, maybe just being guidey. And then putting, I think, just not. It's probably a similar thing. Just like
Hmm.
not feeling, not trusting myself, not hitting, not being confident in the putts. The SF City was a bit of a weird one. The first day was at Harding Park, and I drove it really poorly, but I putted pretty solidly. My chipping and putting was really bad, or my chipping and pitching was really poor. But I made a good amount of putts, and then the second day was at a bit of a weird course. It's like a par 68, and it's like
Mm.
kind of a Mickey Mouse type thing. Like it's
What's it
like
called?
54. It's called Lincoln Park. It's got
I've been
views
there.
of the Golden. Oh,
I
you've
was
been there.
betting that that was going to be the course
Have
you
you played
said.
it?
I played there when I was 16 years old, so like 20 plus years ago. Me and my uncle took a trip to San Francisco and played like 7 courses in the area, and from because I'm from Southern Oregon, and we drove down and we did them all. And I vividly remember playing Lincoln Park, and I was like, this place is goofy golf, and
It's weird.
that was
It's
20
like
plus years ago.
5,400 yards. It's typically like a soup. It's just like wet. But for the city, they somehow get it baked out. And so
Mm.
you've got these tiny greens that are rock hard and fast and bumpy. And so it's like you
It's
have to
just the
hit these like
perfect recipe.
3 footers, like a foot outside the hole with like this like no pace. And it's like at that point it's just like whatever. And so
Yeah.
I don't I'm trying to be better about fast breaking greens. I've never done great
Hmm.
on them. But yeah, it's if I drive it well and I have my putters like fine, I will play solid. If I have a good ball striking day, like I think I have a shot at like shooting around par, but it's like that's really what it comes down to is like can I drive it in, play off the tee, not
Hmm.
get myself like in any like crazy trouble, and then can I putt well inside of 5 feet? If I do those two things, I think I'm going to play fine.
100%. So let's go through each of them because that's huge, right? If you can, I mean, like you said, the irons, the ball striking. It's not that it's not important. It's just that if you can't get off the tee or you're in trouble all the time, it doesn't matter how good your rest of your game is. So what do you feel like changes between your casual rounds where you're just bomb and driver, getting +1 strokes gained to tournaments? Do you feel like one, like how are your routines? Do you feel like you're like confident in targets and processes? I haven't watched that YouTube video. I need to watch that. Maybe I can find some stuff in there for you. But like, do you feel like you're thinking too much? Like, give me kind of your thoughts just on assessing the driver first and foremost.
Um, I think that so I think maybe I know we were talking like swing, trying to not get caught up in swing, but I know my tendency is to kind of get high and narrow and like my right arm collapses. So there's a bit of a like timing element in my transition that if it does get off, like I won't drive it well. And there's a bit of a two-way miss where I can just block it or like it'll I slam it off the toe and it goes left. So under pressure, I think there's a bit of a reluctance to like swing confidently. But it's like as I'm sure you know, like the moment you start guiding stuff, it's bad as well. And so I
Hmm.
think like just knowing sort of like one of the things that I've tried to do over the last couple of months since these tournaments has been sort of like my tendency with drivers to be like 5 up on it, which is just like really hard to play with. My feel now is like low T, hit down and left. And so that has come a long way in sort of eliminating the left side with the
Hmm.
driver.
So you're trying to play a
Where
fade now?
I've always liked a fade off the tee, sort of fade with the driver, draw with the irons to a little, maybe like draw to straight with the irons has kind of just been where I live. But it would be the case where I would hit, if I hit 14 drivers, I'll hit 13 fades and then I'll hit one left like pull hook.
Mm,
And that pull hook would always seem to be between 14 and 16 when there's OB left.
interesting. So
So
let's talk about that though. When you're standing on that, do you feel like you're thinking about that out of bounds? Do you feel like you're like trying to block it out? Because it seems like to even be a three stretch of holes, that feels like it's more on the mental side than
I
worrying
think
about
so.
whatever's up there.
I think it's a little mental. I think I actually played with my coach a couple weeks ago when I was home visiting family. And I had a pretty good round going at a course that is held at Senior Open, Women's Open in Dayton, which is really cool to play. But had a good round going. I was coming off of like 2 birdies and 3 holes. And I stepped up on a pretty narrow, it was like the 16th hole, pretty narrow dogleg
Hmm.
right, which should feel like pretty comfortable to a fader. And I just birdied like a 220-yard par three. So I was like kind of amped up. And I think my
Hmm.
tendency is like I move a little quicker, my grip gets a little stronger.
Mm.
It's sort of, or like my face will go a little left at address. And so I'm learning what these keys are. Like, how can I, if once, I think it just comes down to being present in each moment and not sort of like getting ahead of myself. And I have these keys where it's like, if I feel nervous, I'll tee it even lower. I'll set it up off the heel. I'll feel like the face is a little bit more open and I'll just sort of like hold the face through impact. And that typically works for me. And maybe it's just, maybe I need to go to that all the time. But yeah, I think it's just all mental. It just comes down to like process, making sure that like I'm giving each shot the full attention, making sure that
Hmm.
everything feels good. Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious if you have any thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like that, there's a couple different things in there. So one, it's acknowledging the nerves when you feel them. Like a lot of the problem we always have is like, one, we think we're not supposed to feel nervous, which is total BS. Everybody feels nervous when you're on the golf course, especially the first tee or a nervy shot. So I think acknowledging it is key, not running from it. Because when you don't acknowledge it, it's still just right there, kind of top of mind. So I like to acknowledge it and be like, yeah, if I have a shot that doesn't really suit my eye, I'll be like, oh, don't screw this up like last week or last month or whatever, your mind all of a sudden goes to. I mean, even Rory talked about this at TPC Sawgrass, like when he was hitting in the playoff hole, the Island Green. He's like, I was telling myself, don't hit it in the water. And like, that just goes to show the guy just won the Grand Slam and he's still having negative thoughts, right? So it's like acknowledging it, I think, is key though. And then I had a coach, John Weir from Mental Golf Type, talk about acknowledge and replace, but really you have to like give your mind a better picture. So when you're like on a tee box and you're thinking, don't hit it left, or you imagine that snap hook coming out the one time you do it on that hole and there's out of bounds. If you're feeling that at all, it's just about having some sort of like little reset ritual and then asking yourself, where do I want this ball to go? Because your mind needs as much clarity as we can give it. And so if you're standing over it saying, don't hit it left, don't hit it left, you're naturally just thinking hit it left. And so we have to kind of break it. So he kind of referenced it like it's already an image now. So we have to break it down and restart. So that's where that question, where do I want this shot to go? Be like, okay, yep, I felt that. I am feeling, okay, don't hit it left, but where do I want the ball to go? So again, we always want to think of our mind like a heat-seeking missile. You just need to give it the coordinates. And so for the coordinates can be different for everybody too. It can be a small target, it can be a target zone, it can be a certain feel you're trying to do as well, kind of combined with like a really intentional rehearsal swing. But I'd say anytime you're over the ball and you're thinking, don't hit it left, don't do this, just be like, okay, Ben, where do we want the ball to go? Like we acknowledge that and then getting really clear on our target. So I have a guest coming out in a couple weeks and he talks about how picking targets, you want to pick your target early in your process and you want to look at it several times and really clarify it as much as you can, which kind of coincides with what I said. Your brain is like a missile. You just need the coordinates. But he referenced it like a coat of paint. So he's like, if you just painted a wall once, it's not going to be that strong. But if you did it 3 or 4 times, it's going to be a lot thicker and it's going to be a lot better. And that's exactly how he said your mind works. He's like, you want to give it like really, so like you put that tee in the ground and you're instantly like, where's my target? Where's my target? And then we're behind the ball, taking our rehearsal swings, and we're like looking at that target, be like, and really making it distinct and really making sure it's above the surface, not like just the part of the fairway. Like try and find something in the distance, a tree, a side of a tree, a house, a small window on the house, like doing really, really like some reconnaissance to make sure you're very clear on it. And it's like when you're standing over it, you can look up and easily see it. Sometimes we get in the habit of just being like, oh, it's over there. But then you're like, shit, where is it? And, you're kind of still thinking about it a little bit. So it's getting clear on that target and then it's confirming it a lot of times. And hopefully that will give you a little bit more confidence when you're on the tee instead of saying like, don't hit left. And then we're just getting too mechanical and thinking too much when we're standing over it versus kind of having that I know what to do. I've hit this shot a million times before. Like, let's just go execute.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what it'll, like I said, I know my tendency is to sort of like, if I move, I'll move quicker. When I'm nervous, my grip gets a little strong,
And that
especially
that actually what
with
I
a
was going to say.
driver.
Sorry, you mentioned the grip thing, and I was going to say even build that into your routine. So like when you
Right.
get up, you're behind the ball, you walk into it. Like make sure to give it that little extra half second to get your hand on there because actually that's something I do as well. Is like it gets too strong, and I like got to remember like, hey, let's just get back to that neutral position. So it's like even when I put the face down to like align it to the intermediary target, like I'm spending just an extra second to make sure my pressure's good and it's in the right spot. And so that's
Yeah.
kind of like it's like you want to think of it like a sequential, like 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of 5 step process, right? So it's like if you do all these things, then your brain knows what's going on because our brain loves comfort, it loves habit. And so if you can do the same things over and over again, you're also going to have the same mental thoughts. You're not going to have as many like kind of wandering thoughts. Don't do this, don't do this. I hope that this doesn't happen. So it's like it actually is really comforting for your brain. So it's like when you watch the guys in the US Open this weekend, you'll see they do the same thing over and over again. But that is also just to help them with the little nuances, maybe like their grip. Like you said, I mean, you see Scotty Scheffler, I mean, using a grip trainer almost every time he's on the range, which is wild. So
Yeah.
the little things like that matter. So building that in. And then what I was also going to say is like you mentioned, I think kind of coming maybe over the top, you want to feel that a little bit more, on your rehearsal swing, really try to like kind of overdo it. Obviously, it's not going to be that much, but Jordan Spieth's a great example. He's like trying to do this, or in the past,
Right.
he used to be the other way. So what I would do if I was you is I behind the ball, I've picked my target. It's super easy to find. It's clear. Then I'm kind of just like, all right, let's really feel that, feel that. And then we walk in, get our grip, get our hand in the right spot, kind of do our waggle, look at the target twice, and then just go. But I feel like a couple of those things can really help you get a little bit more confidence. And then playing one shot shape, I think, is key. It doesn't sound like you're trying to hit fades and draws, but I mean, once I
No.
implemented that from Decade Golf in 2022, my driving's been exponentially better.
Yeah, and I'm a big proponent of that philosophy. I recently took my it was a forward for me. I took my forward out of the bag and built up a short driver. So
Nice.
it's like a 440 cc, 10 and a half lofted up two, and it's like 42 and a half, 43 inches. So it
So you have the
looks
main, you have your main driver and then that baby driver.
yeah, like it's like the ping like Thriver type thing,
Mm-hmm.
or I guess Phil has done the two driver setup, but
Mm-hmm.
I did so I play Wilson. I have the like standard 9.5 in the normal driver, and then I went to their like LS model, so it's a little bit smaller, so it looks a
Mm-hmm.
little bit better on the short shaft.
Yep.
It's a little fade biased, but because I lofted up, it's a little bit more neutral to draw biased, which for me it does two things. If I can tee it low and hit this little like knockdown like bunt draw, which I really
Mm-hmm.
like off the tee. And I can turn it over easier. I don't spin the ball a lot, and so when I try and draw my driver, my tendency is to toe it, and that toe ball with no spin is a disaster.
Yeah,
And
I call it
so
the toe tumbler. I
yeah,
hit
yeah,
that
yeah.
sometimes. I get it.
And so this has allowed me to like, if I do want to hit a draw, I can do
Hmm.
it with this. But I just
Yep.
wasn't needing three wood that
I same.
often.
Yeah. I mean, based on your swing speed and stuff. I mean, I don't know it, but just watching your swing enough on Instagram, I think the mini drivers absolutely. I mean, you pretty much created your own mini drivers. Like
Sure.
that's an
Yeah.
awesome strategy. And I think that's key. Is the miss happening with the big driver or the mini or both?
Um, I would say the main driver. I feel like I'm in a bit of a
Yeah.
honeymoon with the short driver a
I
bit
was going to
now.
say, I mean, obviously I'm a big fan of getting it down there as far as you can because shorter approaches are going to lead to less scoring averages. But sometimes if you're in that spot or if it is a really narrow hole and you just feel like it's, got some bad memories there, or you just want kind of a go-to club, that's what I use my mini for sometimes. So even kind of
Yeah.
clubbing down if you're really still not feeling great about it, or maybe the wind's going in a different direction, or there's nothing great to organize up there to find for a target. I mean, that might also be an option, but hopefully that gives you three or four strategies at least to help off the tee.
Yeah, for sure. I think the like a question for you is like I
Yeah.
was playing recently with a friend of mine and I've been hitting some like really bad shots, like really poor quality, like bad thin borderline top shots a lot. It's a bit concerning. Um
Is this
and
off the tee or what's
it's kind of everything.
okay?
It's like it's really weird.
This is a safe
Um
place here, no judgment.
yeah. But he was like you may just need to like change your routine a bit. And I think this is
Hmm.
kind of like the perfect chance to like do that. Like I kind of
Hmm.
got some different swing feels. I've been doing the same routine with the same rehearsals for the last like year and a half. So it's been a
Hmm.
long time doing the same thing to the point where like I kind of go through it mindlessly now, and that doesn't
Yeah,
feel like a good place to be.
exactly.
So I think like kind of have some stuff I can implement now that doesn't just feel like I'm doing it to change things, where it's
Hmm.
like, no, this will like actually help me. So um was just curious if you had any tips on like changing a routine, especially like a week out before a tournament.
So I would say to maybe not before the week before a tournament, but I would say is to just not get into zombie mode out there and just make sure we're not doing the motions for the motions. We're doing like every part of my routine is 100% intentional. Like, from where I put the tee in the ground, to the left side of the box, I play a draw. Like that's the start of it for me. And then it's like I said, picking the target early. And it's not just like these lazy like practice swings. So it sounds like you might be doing practice swings versus rehearsal swings, right? So we really want to like Tiger's such a good example of this. He's so good about knowing if you're hitting a high fade or the low draw or the stinger. He's rehearsing it because that's like the second part. So the first part of it is using our conscious mind, right? So we want to get very clear about our target, the distance if it's an approach shot, maybe the front of the green or the back of the green. So we want to give ourselves as much clarity. Let that left brain run wild, but then we have to get our body involved as well. So I want you to make sure again to spend time on each part of it. And so when you are going through your routine, with that rehearsals, like let's get really intentional. So if you're hitting a driver, I think 75 to 90% effort. Like I don't want this like 50%. I want you to take like a pretty realistic, you don't need to swing 100%, but I want you to get your body be like, okay, this is what I'm trying to do. This is exactly it. And again, painting a clear picture of that target. hey, this is it. Because when you focus on your target and you focus on your routine, you're not going to have as many swing thoughts because you can only focus really on one thing at once. And so it's like if we just have that target or that one feel, it's going to help us a lot. And really, what I like to do, like if you're in your instance of trying to kind of throw it over, if you will, or we're trying to feel like it's out to in. On the first rehearsal swing, what I will do is the feel. So for you really want to like feel it on the first one, and then on the second one, we're just focused on our target and having that good intentional like, hey, we're just trying to give our brain and our body as much kind of clarity, and then we just walk in. And I think it's about making sure that hopefully you're not spending a lot of time over the ball, because that's an
Mhm.
absolute killer. But I think for me, I wouldn't recommend changing too much before a tournament, just because then you're going to be thinking about that, and it's not going to really, you're not going to reap the rewards of a good routine. But it's just being intentional and just like reminding yourself, hey Ben, am I checking out? Am I actually going through the motions, or am I actually like doing this? Because it's not just to check a box, it's to give your body and mind that kind of clarity that you need. But it sounds like you probably have all the steps. It's maybe just doing it with enough kind of enthusiasm.
Sure. Yeah. Um, Definitely. And yeah, I think awareness is is the first step. And so
Yeah.
um yeah, I've got a couple rounds before the tournament next week. So I'm excited to like
Yeah, like
go
when
and
you
like
go out,
practice this a
like
bit.
yeah, spend some practice like the week leading up to an event, like just do routine stuff. Like
Yeah.
don't like, get all the content and try and get all your positions and do a bunch of drills. Like just focus on your routine. Focus on hitting shots that you're going to hit. Like I just had a PGA coach on, and he was talking about go from practicing to planning. So you're thinking about the course that you're going to have. You're thinking about the shots you're going to hit. If you're going to have a lot of mini drivers, hit some extra mini drivers. If there's going to be, big greens, try and hit some like longer putts a little bit more often. So it's getting more into, I'm not just out there to do a bunch of random drills and technical work. Like I'm actually preparing for that golf course. And then you add in that routine aspect to it, hopefully as well, to kind of slow the practice down, make it more intentional. And then it gets your mind activated too. So you're not just, again, zombie mode out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I wish that the course I've only played it twice. I've
Mm-hmm.
got like an afternoon round scheduled this weekend to go and see it one more time. The wind tends to pick up in the afternoon there, and I don't know what my tee time is, so like the weather
Mm-hmm.
could be calm, could be windy. I feel like it might be good to go get a an afternoon practice run in just to sort of
Yeah.
see what that's like. But yeah, I played okay in the like I played it last weekend and like played pretty solid. I was hitting it pretty close, so I didn't get a lot of lag putt practice in, and like the green I didn't make anything, so I'd love to go get some more green practice in there.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like big sloping greens that are super exposed. So, but they roll pretty nice.
Yeah, I think
But
I
yeah,
think
I'll
that's also like when they're big greens like that, it's you're gonna have longer putts and you're gonna hit more greens, but you're probably gonna have some long ones. So it's about, as soon as you step that first foot on the green, you almost kind of want to like activate something like, hey, let's not take this for granted. Like it's easy to, a 25 footer can obviously turn into a three putt real quick. And then if it's 30
mhm.
or 40 or 50 feet. So I think it's really like, do you feel good about like your green reading routine and like putting routine? How do those kind of fit in as well? Is that something you follow, like a process for both of those?
I do, yeah. So I use aim point and I pace off my putts. So I like to think I'm a pretty solid lag putter. Like my speed is like pretty good. Um, where playing different green speeds all the time, just playing uni courses, it gets a little hard because in the city here the greens are slow, but you drive 20 minutes east and the greens are like lightning quick, and so
Mm-hmm.
it's a bit challenging. But I do think I have a pretty strict process with when it comes to putting, and so typically get up onto the green. First thing I'll do is I'll pace off my putt, so I'll feel just. I just step it off and I'm like, okay, if I have 10 paces, I know it's about 30 feet.
Love it.
And then I kind of go to the side, or I I either do this when I'm walking into the green if I can, or if
Hmm.
that's like not an option, I'll do it after I pace it off. But then I go to the side and I see, okay, like how uphill, what is like the slope going up or downhill of this
Hmm.
putt, right? And sort of in my head, I'm saying, okay, like that looks like it's going to add about five more paces or whatever it is. Or if it's a 30-foot putt, I know that it's like 5 feet uphill, so I'm going to play like a 35-foot putt.
Hmm.
And then I'm just from there, I go and like step over my line, see if I can. I'm terrible at reading greens, and so aim point has sort of helped me sort of
Let's
be more
uh
commit.
let's just reframe that, because I mean that's probably not helping anybody if you just say I'm terrible at
Let
anything.
me say that I was terrible at reading greens.
There we go. I
Yeah,
used to, but now I
I
got a
used to
lot
be.
better.
I was very bad at seeing the break of the green,
Hmm.
and so aim point has helped me. read greens and be very committed to the line I
Hmm.
was taking, or that I take. And so I typically do it in like two sections. If it's a 30-foot putt, I'll do like the first half, and I'll do like the second half, just
Hmm.
to get like, because I'm a bit of a dying speed putter, and so the last 5 feet is, it's important for everyone, but I stress more about that because I do tend to die my putts to the hole. And then from there, I don't take any practice strokes. I
Okay.
sort of like try and just paint the picture of the ball going down the line, where I want it to enter the hole, and like I'm sort
So
of
are
like
you
saving.
behind the ball and then walking in like Scotty Scheffler and Rory, or are you more? Are you doing it like next to the ball like Tiger? Because you're not doing any rehearsals. I'm just trying to
No
figure out when the
rehearsals.
official kind of routine begins for you.
Yeah. So the routine starts like I go and mark my ball, and I'll pace the putt
Hmm.
after I mark the ball, or if I'm like walking from the hole to the ball, I'll do it
Like
there.
once you've read it and you feel good about it, then where's the kind of trigger like?
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm standing behind it. So like Scotty. So I'm looking down the
Hmm.
line of the putt. I sort of like walk in, OC a little like, call me crazy. I like wipe the face of my putter like every time.
Yeah, that's my trigger to start my routine. So I
Yeah.
get that. Yeah.
So I walk in, I wipe the face. If my hat feels weird, I'll like adjust my hat, but that's not like an every time thing. If there's like, I'm really particular. If I like see a bug, I'll like step off. I like don't typically with putting, I'm like pretty like locked in about if something doesn't feel right or I see something, I'll like step off. But
Hmm.
I walk in, wipe the putter face, stand in the putt. I kind of like trace the ball down the line going to the hole that I picked,
Hmm.
look at the spot that I want the ball to enter,
Hmm.
look back at the ball, and then from there, I sort of started implementing a while ago this like 4-step counter, which seems crazy, but for me, it's a tempo thing. So I will look at the hole, or I will like look at the ball like that's one. I'll look at the hole, I say two, and then I come back to the ball, I go three, four. It kind of just keeps me moving quicker, so I don't get like stuck over it.
I like that.
Um, I think it just sort of like I don't think about my stroke or the putt at that point. I'm not thinking about mechanics. I'm just like
Hmm.
staying in my tempo, and that's pretty much it.
I like that. No, that's a great because I mean like I count down. Let's like when I start my so like when I start my routine back here and I like wipe the putter, I start a 99 countdown. So like that's
Hmm.
something I do just to keep my conscious mind busy. I started doing that in 2021 and done it every putt pretty much since then once I kind of found the
Yeah.
benefits. And so I mean having the 1 2 3 4 or however you want to call it there, I haven't heard of it specifically like that, but I love it because again, it's the same thing for your mind. So it's like giving your mind that repetition and habit that it loves. And so that's why, habits die hard, right? And that's actually a good habit to have. It's not like you have like a bad habit. So do you feel like when you are, because it sounds like you have a good green reading. Like I'm not an aim point guy, but I mean, obviously a lot of people are. So at work, you have an aim point where you have a green reading, which is key because a lot of players don't have a good green reading routine. So then they're over their putt too long because they didn't really like go through a process. So you already have that, which is great. You already have a putting routine, which is great. And again, it sounds like you have all the right stuff, but you're saying the tournament putting isn't it still has room to improve. So, what is it? Is it short putts? Is it mid range? Is it long? Again, if you have any stats, that'd be great. But even if just you can think of the San Francisco City or any ones where you feel like, is it you're missing the short ones you should be making, or are we just leaving ourselves too long of putts?
So let's go with, okay, so I've got two tournament rounds pulled up. Both of them were like decent rounds. So the tournament that I won at Harding Park, I shot 74. Um, do you want me to share my screen? Is that like,
Yeah, might as well.
I mean,
Let's do it.
um,
Let me see here. No, I gotta let you share. Yeah.
I know that like the audio listeners can't hear this, but
Yeah, it's
YouTube
okay.
will be
We'll explain
good.
it. Yeah.
And then yeah,
Did it
I'll
go through?
explain everything. I am, yeah, now it did.
Perfect.
Um,
So this was a tournament you won.
yeah, this was a tournament that I won. And
Nice.
this
Plus
was
1.1. All right. So for those audio listeners, he shot 74, which was plus two, plus zero point 0.3 driving, plus zero point 0.2 approach, plus zero point 0.4 or plus zero point 0.3 short game, plus 1.1 putting. That's awesome. By the way, you got green in all four categories. That doesn't happen a lot. So clearly things were going well. Yeah. Scroll down a little bit.
Oh wait, why can't? Oh, there we go. Okay.
Perfect.
So the things that stand out. So right, like looking at driving, like 3 of 14 fairways is really bad.
Is it?
I was never out of position. So
Exactly. So
there was one tee
fairways.
shot that I was out of position, but other than that, like I was just in the rough, which was like, and this day at Harding, the rough wasn't that thick, so it was fine.
I
But
mean, we're not playing the U.S. Open, so honestly, I don't even look at fairways. I look at do I have a shot at the green? If I have a shot at the green and it's not some like crazy punch shot or like have to hit it really high over a tree, that means so I really don't care about fairways that much. So I love that you hit 3 of 14 and still won the tournament. Just proving again that distance is key because obviously you hit it long.
yeah,
Let's see, penalties, 0 penalties, great. 10, so 56% greens. Scratch golfers hit about 55% of greens in regulation, so pretty much right there. Inside 8 feet. Yeah, go down for the total putts. So no three putts. Awesome. Made all your putts from 0 to 3 feet. 1 of 3 from 3 to 6 feet. That's interesting.
yeah. I'm trying to think
So
about some of this might be like data entry too.
yeah,
Like,
that's true. The
I don't
stats
know.
aren't perfect.
There was one specific 5 footer that I remember. It was a bit of a weird putt. Like, honestly, like I think a lot of this comes down to not just my tendency with putting is to sort of like kind of like leave the face open a bit and just kind of like hold on and not like commit to the finish. I think that's probably
Hmm.
where a lot of it comes from. I said I'm a die putter. When we start to get to like 10, 12, 15 feet, at least I tend to leave those short, which is like pretty bad. I think a lot of that just comes to like commitment on the greens. I would think that that's where a lot of it is. Um,
So here's
but
yeah, here's some kind of stats to think about. I mean, when it comes inside 10 feet, you want to always get the ball to the hole. If not inside 10 feet, you are losing strokes. So I mean, 3 to 6 feet. Obviously, this could just be a one-off, but you mentioned putting for being a room to improve for the tournament. So I think that just knowing like I'm losing strokes if I don't get it to the hole, and it just feels bad, right? Like there's just like nothing worse than having an 8 footer and you just leave it short. You're like, fuck.
yeah,
Like this was like an easy. So I think that also can have a tough spike on your brainwave. So there's some great studies out there that short putts have the highest spike on your brainwave. So then it leads to maybe a not so great tee shot because you haven't calmed down. And so I think always having that mentality of okay, 10 feet and in, I'm giving this a chance. It doesn't mean you have to crush it. It doesn't mean you have to hit it far. Outside of 10 feet, it's like a speed drill. You really don't need to be trying to make many of those. 10 feet on the PGA Tour's 40% make rate. So it's not like you're going to make a ton of those. 10 to 15 feet. I was doing a playing lesson with one of my mental coaching students yesterday, and we were looking at the PGA Tour, and I think it was 10 to 15 feet was like 30% average. So I mean, you're not even going to make a ton of those on the PGA Tour, but you want to get most of those to the hole, but I'd say close to 50-50, and then kind of outside of that, you definitely want to be leaving some of them short. I think never up, never in sounds good in theory, but then when you see decade stats and all the other studies out there, it's like, you're just
yeah.
shrinking the hole and making it kind of hard. So it sounds like maybe short putts. Do you have any um, emphasis like telling yourself, like, hey, Ben, I got to make this? Like, oh, I want to make this putt. Do you ever find yourself saying that?
I don't know if I find myself saying it, but there's a bit of a pressure to feel that. Like there is a pressure to feel like I have to make them. I think that there's been a bit of trauma over the last like several years of like I went through a period 3 years ago where I was like really bad inside of 5 feet. Like I couldn't I barely made anything. Some of that was like putter fit. I just wasn't using the right putter for
Mm-hmm.
me. But that led to a lot of like lack of confidence over the ball on those like five inside of 5 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think some of it comes from that. But I've never told myself like you like have to make this.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, a lot like I've definitely done that in the past. Like several like back in high school, I was like, oh, like you have to make this or it's like
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna be in like a bad position.
Yeah.
Now it's more like I kind of like don't like to think about the putt until I'm like if someone else is going, I'll like figure out like where like what is this kind of like what is this putt trying to do? But like until I can get in and like do my routine, I'm not really trying to think about it, right? I'm sort of like seeing what else is going on, taking in the information around the greens, like what my playing partners are doing, but like I'm trying to not think about it as much as possible. And then once I sort of get into my routine and I pick my line, I'm just sort of like, okay, like I'm going to start on this line. And
Mm-hmm.
if I don't, I don't. But if I do, like I'm giving it the best chance to go in. And so,
I kind of like
uh,
that, but at the same time, when you are watching people, which I'm all for as well, still get that target. Like get that target. Like if the point is going to be rolling over, if it's a short putt and you can see a piece of grain or you can see an old divot, it has to roll over. Start to just kind of that same thing, painting the wall, right? We want to give
mhm,
ourselves as much confidence in that target because it's literally a look and shoot part of the game, right? And so that's why kids are so good. They don't care. They're just like, oh, there's the cup. We just putt right to it. But I feel like you're kind of you're almost procrastinating it just a little bit. Like I'm all for like not stressing and like staying over it. We want to do our breathing, do different things to kind of calm down. But at the same time, I would challenge you to pick that target a little bit earlier, just so that way there's not as much thinking still when we're over it or even starting that routine. Like, it's going over that line. It's starting, it's got to go right over this. If it's a longer putt, hey, it's got to hit this kind of apex, like however you like to pick it. Everyone's a little bit different. But I think even getting just a little bit more emphasis, again, just so we're giving our mind as much clarity on the target as we can.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense.
But I just like that you're not trying to force putts. I mean, I've had 5 different guests say stop trying to make putts, and I think that is one of the hardest things to do. Especially inside 10 feet when statistically you are going to make a good amount of those. So anytime I feel like you got to make this one, I'll acknowledge it. I'll be like, yep, that thought comes up. It's never going to go away. So I'm like, yep, that I definitely want to make this. How do I give myself the best chance to make it? Have a good greening routine, have a good putting routine. So it's like I kind of play this like little game with myself, like, yes, of course we want to make this, Mike. Okay, what do we need to do? Get really clear on it, not just going through my, half-ass rehearsal swings, not really just saying, oh, it's kind of right edge. Like find the small like little piece that it's going to go in and say, hey, this is going in right at 6 o'clock. It's dead straight. I'll even make myself laugh. I remember Tiger said that. I think he was in a playoff with Bob May, I want to say, and he told himself like, your mom could make this putt. Like just kind of gave himself a little bit of grief, and he went in to pour the putt and win in the playoff. But I think even kind of giving yourself a little humor sometimes and not taking it so serious, because then when we take it serious, we have a little more tension, we're a little more guidey, and then a lot of times we're leaving putts short. And that, like I said, is kind of going back to what we said. Really want to avoid that inside 10 feet.
Yeah, I think like I had a really interesting round last weekend where again it was a practice round for the tournament that I was playing. Second time I've ever played the course, and I was flushing the ball all day. I think from holes like one through, I mean, really all day. Like I had
It sounds like a great day.
one putt outside of like 15 feet.
uh,
The rest of them were like 12 feet in. Like it was like stupid. I was like, what is going on? I didn't make anything. So I made like two birdies from like 5 feet, and that was it. Typically when that happened, obviously I'm not a great ball striker, but when it comes up, I'm like, I
Wait,
feel like
what?
I
I'm
should.
sorry, what was that? Not a
I
great ball
don't
striker. You're not a
I
great
don't
green
consider
reader.
myself
You're
a
you're
great.
not good at anything, but you're a 2 handicap, 3 handicap.
Or maybe we're finding the issue here.
Oh, I'm
Uh,
just, it's one of those things. I love just talking to players about their game because we have blind spots and we just don't recognize them sometimes. And honestly, you're in the top 5% of amateur golfers already. So I don't want you to thinking, some trolls on Instagram tell you you're not a good ball striker. You're a great ball striker. You have the stats to prove it. You've won tournaments. You've played in high school. You're already leaps above about these people that think they're great at golf. I get so much crap about you could never be a +2, this and that. I'm like, look at it's all tournament scores. Like, I'm not cheating in tournaments. Like, what are you people
yeah.
doing? So I think getting away from that and then just being like, I'm a great ball striker. No one's perfect year round. I mean, you only see these guys win maybe once a year on the PGA Tour when they peak. So it's not going to be there all the time. It's about getting the most out of your B and C game. And that's obviously mental game, short game, routine stuff that we're kind of going through now. So, but just be careful about that because you are a good ball striker. I've seen you hit a million shots on Instagram. So what I would actually challenge you to do sometimes, since you do have so much content, is to create some highlight reels. I have a highlight reel for my driver, my irons, my wedges, my short game, and my putting. And before every tournament, they're all about a minute, minute and a half each. It's all my best shots in a row. It is so good to watch that for your mind. And I'll even have little affirmations like I'm the best putter in the world. I always make putts. I love making putts. I love going low. So I just started doing that like 5, 6 months ago, and it's made such a big difference
Mhm.
because it just gives you the little confidence boost that you need. And even if you're not a content creator and you're listening to this podcast or watching, just record your swing sometimes and have someone record some stuff when you're on the course, and then you just build some good stuff because our confidence is so fragile, especially in tournaments, that it's easy to like remember all the bad stuff. And so that's why we always want to have some sort of post round stuff as well to kind of ingrain the good ones. But just remind yourself, man, you're a good player.
Yeah, it's all perspective, right? Like I've had so many good rounds and a lot of good ball striking rounds over the last 2 years. But I only remember the rounds that I hit it
That's how
like
this thing's wired
garbage.
though. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, if you just remembered all the great stuff, you'd be eaten and by a tiger, and you wouldn't have made it. So, I mean, it's there for a reason, but we have to be aware of it and catch yourself when we're just being like, man, like beating myself up. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I get it from the content creator side of things too. But just run your own race and just do little things that you can to get confidence after every round. So when you have your tournaments coming up, highly recommend doing stuff after the round. I call it the confidence car ride. So on the car ride home, all I do is think about all the great shots I hit. I don't even acknowledge the bad ones. I just focus on, man, I striped that first tee. I had such a good warm up. Like I am like hyping myself up on the drive home. If people saw me, they, this guy's talking to himself, listening to great music. Like I'm just trying to get all the good stuff that I can out of it because again, I know my mind wants to be like, oh, you missed that putt. You had a 3-putt here. I can't believe you hit that out of bounds. So I know that's going to happen. But when I get home, I'll do a little recap for sure. And I'll be like, God, that was just, what happened there? Oh, well, I didn't really go through my routine. Or, oh, at the last second, I heard a cart drive by and I let it, affect me. So I'll do an analysis part when I enter my stats. But on the way home, flush your mind with as many good memories as you can. Build up that memory bank. I have literally just a note card of all my best shots with every club I carry with me, and I update it every single like quarter, just with the freshest, most good best shots I can, just to constantly kind of give yourself that positive affirmation that you're a good player. Because again, you can have a couple of rough rounds and feel like, why am I doing this? So do
Yeah.
you have anything post round that you do?
I don't have a post round routine. Like I said, I kind of got away from keeping stats like religiously. A lot of it was just like a time thing, but I probably need to get back to being better at it. I think like the strokes gain stuff helps a lot. Um, I'm not sure how to use it, to be honest. Like if I'm being like
Yeah.
totally transparent, like I'm not sure how to use the stats from apps like Shot Pattern
Yeah.
or Decade for that reason.
So I challenge you even before the stats to write down, just have an ongoing note for a tournament on your phone, or I geek out, have Trello boards and organized by tournaments and months and everything. But I write down at least 3 good shots, and you'll find that you'll have a lot more than three. But even your worst rounds, you're going to have at least 3 good shots. But I mean, having all the YouTube stuff that you do as well, like creating the highlight reels, I think would be great. But then just write down at least 3 good shots. Like that's the first thing. Hey, what were the shots I'm proud of? What was I proud of my warm up? Did I get there on time? Like just give yourself as many wins as you can. But then when you do track your stats, and again, you don't have to track them every single day if you don't want. More data obviously is better just because if you just track your good rounds, it's not going to be that accurate of a description of your game. But I think then it just comes down to looking at the data and being like, okay, like for example, let's say the thing you shared with your screen that was let's say over 5 rounds and you were really struggling the 3 to 6 feet. Well, at home putting routines, at home putting mat. When you do go to the course, we're spending more time on the short putts. So it's like, just figuring out what are the weakest areas of your game based on the stats. Because subjectively, we're terrible at assessing our game. And sometimes you can feel like you're a great driver, and then you look at your stats and you're like, wow, that's terrible, or vice versa. So I think it's just about spending the time the following weeks after these events on working on those weaknesses to hopefully just to kind of clean up. And so we're just trying to bring every part of our game up so there isn't just some glaring weakness that's going to come up.
yeah, yeah. It's part of the reason why I'm so excited for the summer because like each month I've got like 2 to 3 events, and so
Mm-hmm.
and they're all like all the events are sort of packed together, but then I have like a month in between. And
Yeah.
so I think it's going to leave a lot of time for like kind of reflection and prep for like for the next thing. And it all sort of ends in this like big event with the US Mid-Am, which will be a lot of fun. I'm going home for it as a course I've played before
Cool.
at a qualifier that played. I played a qualifier there and I played pretty decently. So
Mm-hmm.
excited to sort of go back there and see the course and hopefully play well.
It's not a big event though. It's just another event. I want you to do the same thing if it's a 1 day US Am tour or it's a city championship or it's playing your buddies. I mean, if you're, gambling or whatever, or if it's a mid am or if it's a 3 day event, let's just like think about every event is just another event. Like that's one of the big, if we hype it up, again, we're just kind of psych. It's like setting a score goal. Like I got to shoot 69 today. That's a horrible idea. Not going to help
Yeah.
anything. It sounds good in theory, but I think this guy's probably the only guy that can set a score goal and actually get close to doing it. So I just don't think it's great for that. So just be careful with the labels. You have an event. It is a mid am. It's going to be a lot of fun, but just leave it at that.
Yeah. Yep.
How you
I
feeling?
like that strategy a lot. I'm feeling good.
What other questions you got? You got anything that you've been kind of pondering with the mental game, routines, tournament prep?
what is your favorite like drill thing to do practice wise leading into a tournament? So what I've been doing is I play the course a lot in that week, like leading up on the
Hmm.
range, right? And so I'm like kind of going through each tee shot and then I'm hitting the club that I like. Like I might have the GPS open on my phone and say, okay, like I have a launch monitor, and so like if I'm using that and I say, okay, I hit that drive like 290 yards. If I hit a 290-yard drive on the target that I hit on the range,
Hmm.
about what club will I have in, and then I'll hit that a shot, and then I'm going to the next tee shot. And I'm kind of just doing that on the range, and that is sort of like my practice. My warm ups during those sessions are typically like gap wedge, little knockdowns, and then I'm kind of like just going into hitting like playing the course. I'm not doing a lot of like block drill practice leading into an event, but it's a lot of short
Hmm.
game, a lot of like chipping, pitching to different targets, some pressure stuff too, just sort of like get that muscle flexing. Like, oh, I have to get like 7 of 10 inside this like circle with like my
Hmm.
60-degree wedge or something. And like if I don't do it, it's fine, but it's like, okay, this is like the last ball, like I gotta get it's just like
Hmm.
getting myself comfortable with the pressure. And then putting, my like practice putting routine, I really love. I love doing it. I do clock drill, so 2 balls at each spot, 5 spots, so like 10. I have a goal of like I like to do like 8 of 10 from like 4 to 5 feet is kind of like the range.
Hmm. But that's
And
also
then
good with expectations too, because one thing I see is like players have these great goals, but they're not aligned with expectations, you know? So it'd be like, oh, I'm gonna hit I have to make 10 6-footers in a row. It's like that's not a great, I mean, even the pros probably aren't gonna do that. So
yeah, like
it's like
realistically, you're not going
yeah,
to make all
yeah,
like
you're realistic. 4 to 5 feet, 80%, that's a great goal.
I mean that's a great from 5 feet. I think pros are like what, like 90, like they're not even
No,
100.
they're from 4 feet they're 90, from 5 feet they're
80, I think it's 80,
like
right?
80. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like
Mhm.
my goal is 8. I typically, if I do well, I'll hit 9. If
Yeah,
if
I'm
I
all for
don't,
setting like,
seven's still
little
good. You
little
know what I
higher
mean?
goals for sure. But yeah,
But
that's
but having
awesome.
a 5 footer on the last putt to like hit my goal is great for pressure
Hmm.
putting. And then I practice a lot from 30 feet. So I do this like 21 drill, where I have to, if it's anywhere within like 18 inches, it's 2 points. If it's outside of that, it's -2 points. And if I make it, it's 5. I just try and
Hmm.
get a 21 as quickly as I can.
Yep.
And then I play 18 holes of par two to different holes
I
around the green.
I
So,
wouldn't change anything, man. That is literally, it's like, that's right. I have in my new book 7 different tournament plans, and it's pretty much right there. It's just,
yeah.
it's not overdoing it too. I think it's easy to like feel like you got, but it sounds like you're not doing the technical, like super block practice, jumbo bucket kind of stuff, which is great. But yeah, sometimes, I used to like try and cram and then like do all this extra stuff, and then I'm
Oh,
just like
I've done
exhausted.
that, and I'm learning that that just doesn't help me.
Yeah.
My coach Ryan has sort of drilled into me like less is more is
Hmm.
better for me, and I definitely am a big believer of that. Like work on the stuff that I know will help me. Like knockdown shots help me stay connected. I know that's
Hmm.
going to be a help, but it's also going to help me with tempo. Like there's a lot of
Hmm.
benefits of just hitting those knockdown wedges. So,
Yeah. I'd say the
um,
only other thing to maybe add is a mental component to it. So you're doing the routine stuff on the range, which is great, but maybe at home, 10, 15 minutes just thinking about how you're going to play certain holes. Imagine
mm,
start off good, but then you have a tough tee shot and you have to bounce back. Like one of the things with visualization is it's important to visualize not so much the bad shot that got you there, but imagine you will, hit a great drive, but it ended up in a divot in the fairway. Okay, well, if someone drives up and they're like, "Oh man, can you believe your ball's in a divot?" You're just imagining yourself. You don't even say anything. You just go through your process. You're like, "It's not a good lie. It's not a bad lie. It's just the lie I have. I'm going to hit my shot." So you're kind of imagining how you're going to bounce back. Like, "Oh, it didn't have a good front nine." Okay, well, what are you telling yourself on the 10th hole? How are you going to bounce that back? How are you going to kind of chunk down the next few holes to get some momentum? So, kind of putting yourself in different situations can also prepare your mind just as much because I used to imagine all these perfect shots I'm going to hit, which I think is still good, but at the same time, I've never played around where I've never not hit a bad shot or two. So it's good to also kind of prime your mind a little bit. Imagine maybe what you're going to be feeling when you're out there. Maybe there's like a certain hole where there's like a house over there to the left. You really like looking at that, like, oh, write in your yardage book, like, take a second over there, or maybe there's always some animals over there. Maybe there's a dog. You're like, okay, like little things like that. I actually add in my yardage books just beforehand, just to think about like, what can I do to keep me calm and relaxed and in the moment. But I think the mental prep is actually a pretty big component that a lot of players don't really think about. So it could be getting really clear on your game plan, saying, hey, on the first hole, I'm hitting driver at that tree. Okay, great. Third hole, I'm hitting 7-iron. I'm going to try and, hit it off this bunker and, get it back to the middle of the green. So just kind of getting a game game plan, and then also the just playing out some of the scenarios in your head can also help a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something I definitely think about like, okay, for every shot I'm gonna like do my routine. And I do sort of like plan out, here's what I'm gonna hit on this hole, or here's like sort of like the target. But I haven't done a lot of the situational prep stuff of like, okay, like if this happen like I don't want to say like, oh, if I hit a bad shot, like
Yeah, it's like
here's
I
how I'm
said, you
gonna
don't want to
react.
focus on like, oh, I sliced it out. Now I'm hitting my provisional, right? So it's like you almost want to imagine like something happened. Like what if you hit a great approach and it hit the flag and then it spins back
Right.
into a
It's
bunker,
like
right?
preparing yourself for like it's not going to be perfect. So like if something happens, how are you
Mm-hmm.
going to attack it? And the tournament
Mm-hmm.
that I played at Harding that I won, it was something like it was a tournament where I remember specifically on like the sixth hole, I hit a really bad tee shot and I had to like punch out like up to the fairway and then had like a 9 iron on. I made bogey. But I was like in the moment, I was like, it's whatever. I'm just gonna like tip it out there. Like bogey's
Mm-hmm.
fine. There's a lot of scoring opportunities coming up to like get back. And
Yeah.
um, so like mentally, I was like really good that day, but that's not always the case, right? And I think just making sure that if the when that happens in a round of golf, because it always
Mm-hmm.
does. And if it doesn't, amazing. But how are you going to react? Like, how are you going to react when something like that does happen? I think is something I haven't done, but it seems like it would be a really like good exercise.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. You're trying to get to a plus handicap. It's like when you're losing the most, the smallest amount of body fat to get to whatever it's like the littlest things are going to make the biggest difference. And the mental component for tournament golf is everything. What would you say is your worst mental habit that you know is not helping you?
I actually don't know. That's a really good. Um,
Are you a club thrower, negative self-talk, pouty after a bad shot?
I don't. I'm not a club thrower.
You're saving
I'm
yourself a lot of
not.
money, so nice job.
I'm trying to think. So I actually feel like I've done a better. I think a lot of it is probably routine and just like making sure that I'm committing to every shot and like making sure I'm really intentional about each step. Um, I actually feel like I'm pretty solid at being able to like get over something. The
Hmm.
issue is when I string together a bunch of mistakes, and then I'm like, oh, like I'm way out of it. Like
Hmm.
that is probably the thing that I can improve at. Right, like if I make like three bogeys or like two doubles or something, it's holy, like
Hmm.
what's going on? Like how do I get out of this stretch?
So I would have some sort of reset, like a reset ritual. So we hopefully don't have those two. If you have one double bogey, it's, obviously we're trying to avoid the doubles or worse, but bogeys aren't going to kill the round. And then also think like there's a couple different things you do. First, I think you just have to keep being wildly optimistic because at your level, you can birdie any hole at any given time. It's not like you're a 20 handicap that's like, still has to work on the mechanical side of stuff. You technically could birdie any hole at any given time. So you have to think that. Why? Yeah, you might have made bogeys on 13, 14, 15. Well, what if you played really good and locked into your routine on the next three holes and you ended up making birdie, birdie, birdie? I'm not saying it's always going to happen, but like I have so much optimism in my game. It's unrealistic, but I'd much rather be that way than whatever, this round's over because I'd still rather shoot 75 than 78, right? So it's like you still want to just run through the finish line and then additionally have some sort of like reset ritual. So what I do after a double bogey or worse, I pull out my red card. I don't know if you heard me talk about that on any of the episodes, but it's from the book Jira Golf. It's like five different memories I have completely unrelated to golf. So it's like one of them with my family on vacation, one of them, with my girlfriend, one of them with my dog, like just completely random things. And I'll look at it. And some people actually that I work with have printed out like pictures. So if it's like a person that they, maybe it's their grandpa or maybe their mom or whoever they got started playing golf with, and they'll look at that picture and they'll just like transport for 10, 15 seconds and just go back to that moment in time. Go back to that vacation. Go back to that celebration. Maybe you did something great at work. Maybe you had this great memory with your friends and you're just focusing on that for 10, 15 seconds just to kind of shift your state. So you're calming your brainwaves down so that way we can just be like, we're not, it's just golf. Like it's not, you're making it so much harder on ourselves sometimes. So I love doing that. And anytime I make double, even if I don't feel myself getting like, pissed off, I will look at that just to remind myself we gotta get in control. Because stress is subtle. A lot of times we don't always, feel it as much. Sometimes you're seeing red, you feel it. Other times though, you just need some sort of reset. So I'll do that, and then additionally, I might change the ball out. Say, all right, let's get a new ball, fresh start. I'll change my glove. I'll tap the driver or putter on the ground and say, hey, reset here, new shot, new hole. Let's lock in on these next 3 holes. So it's just like you're playing these mind games with yourself kind of throughout the round. So when you find yourself maybe not going through the best stuff, just say, hey, Ben, all I'm trying to do on these next 3 holes is just focus on my routine. Because if you focus on your routine, you're probably going to hit a lot better shots. You're going to make better decisions as well. So kind of have that attitude, like, what can I focus on that's not score related that's going to set me up? And usually a routine's a good fallback. And it sounds like you've mentioned that a few times. You kind of start just going through the motions. So it's like, hey, how good can my target be? How good can my rehearsal swings be? How good can I, commit to this target? And it's just giving your brain something else to focus on.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the reset idea. The red card, I've never heard of this like red card thing before.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
I like that a lot. It's a sort of way to like kind of pull you out of that
Hmm.
moment, and then you can kind of go back in with some like fresh perspective.
Exactly.
So I might try that. I've definitely done the ball thing before. Yep.
You got to do it, man. You got to
Yeah,
do it.
yeah. Cool. Yeah, I mean, no real questions yet. I think obviously as I sort of like dive into the summer, I'm sure I will have more to ask you. But
No, this was
I think
great, man. I mean, I hope I helped you out. And I know the audience is going to get a lot from it because we've all been right where you are, and I know there's a lot of players that are getting into tournaments, summer season right here. So this is all good stuff. And just remember, it's just about learning from those rounds. So I do encourage you to get some more post time, just 15, 20 minutes, the car ride home, just so we don't keep making the same mistakes, right? So we're just trying to figure out like, oh man, on 18, I tend to mentally check out. So, if that happens, you write a little square around 18 and say, hey, I'm really locking in. I'm kind of talking to myself on this one. So it's like you got to have sometimes just learning from it. Oh, when I get that bunker shot, I tend to, linger a little too long over it and I don't always hit a good one. Like, so it's just kind of finding those 1 or 2 shots that are kind of holding you back or maybe lead to some slippery bogeys and doubles. So just do a little bit of kind of post round recaps and hopefully you can kind of spot some trends before they become, big habits that we're not a big fan of.
yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm excited. I'm rooting you on. I love all your tournament schedule. Keep crushing it on Instagram and helping everybody out there. What is your Instagram so I can make sure everybody follows you?
Yeah, it is just my name at Ben Kolde, Kolde.
Perfect.
Yeah, super easy to find.
Awesome, man. We'll keep up that tournament journey. I'll link to the Instagram down below, and if I can help with anything, just keep me posted. But looking forward to you sending me a screenshot when you're a plus handicap.
Yeah, me too.